Trinity. Trinity Sunday. I hear a little collective sigh, and I don't know about you, but I've heard a number of sermons that have begun with Trinity Sunday, a little panic in the preacher's voice. What can be said? It's a mystery, it's a paradox. And I understand it's sort of a little kind of a humorous thing among Christians when it comes to the Trinity, because, what can one say? How do you understand it? How can we even approach it? Which is kind of startling and surprising, because when you think about it, the Trinity is one of the very two things that is at the core of Christianity, of our faith, of our tradition. The first being the incarnation, of course, the unique coming of God as a human being in the person of Jesus. And then the other thing that makes Christianity unique is our understanding, our proclamation of the Trinity. That God is not just a singularity, but is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Creator, Redeemer, and Sanctifier. And this is what makes Christianity, isn't it? The incarnation, Jesus, the Son of God, becoming one of us, and our worship and understanding of God as Trinity of persons. We call ourselves Christians, don't we? But actually, we could very well call ourselves Trinitarians. Actually, Christians was a nickname given by non-Christians for people who follow Jesus. But actually, we could be Trinitarians because that's the God that we worship. When Christians say the word God, it's actually shorthand. Because what we're really saying when we say the word God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Creator and Redeemer and Sanctifier. Because that's the God whom we worship. That's the God whom we experience. That is the God that is at the heart of our faith, the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity. And I would also kind of remind myself that when we talk about the Trinity, when we proclaim the Trinity, when we worship the Trinity, we're not really defining God, because who can define God? What we're doing is we are proclaiming God. We're just really saying, this is what we have known and this is what we have experienced. Just as we heard in John's Gospel, we testify to what we've seen and what we have heard in the person of Jesus in John's instance. But we're not really trying to define God and say, this is what God is in all of God's fullness, in the totality of eternity. What we're really saying is, this is the God that we have come to know. We come to know God as the creator of all things. We know God as the person of Jesus, our Redeemer, the one whom we follow. And of course we know and experience God as the Holy Spirit, the one who is inside us and with us and around us and inspires us. So the Trinity is more of a proclamation than a definition. But it does tell us something very special about the nature of God, doesn't it? The Holy Trinity. First of all, it shows us and tells us that God is love. That God is fundamentally love. The very heart and nature and being and essence of God is love. Because God isn't alone. God is Father and Son and Holy Spirit, three persons, and they are in perfect harmony with each other. They are distinct with their own identity and personality, and yet they are one. And that's perfect love, isn't it? To be able to love somebody without condition, to be able to accept somebody just as they are without seeking to manipulate them or make them conform to what you want them to be for the sake of yourself. But the Trinity is just perfect love. And out of the love that the Trinity has for each other, that's how the cosmos came to be. Out of the love that the Trinity has one for the other, so that love spilled out and created what we experience around us, who we are ourselves. Because the nature of God is the nature of creation and the nature of humanity, our own nature as well. And so at our very base, at our very core, our nature is love as well. That's where that desire to reach out and touch another, that's where that impulse comes from the nature of God as we share God's nature. To reach out, to know and to be known, to accept and to be accepted, and that heart of compassion. The nature of God is love, and the nature of God is relationship. The Celts, they loved the idea of the Trinity. When Christian missionaries first arrived in Celtic lands in the 4th and 5th and 6th centuries, they really responded to the idea of the Trinity, of this three-party, three-person God. And interestingly enough, they were already creating proto-crosses as part of their own indigenous religious culture. And of course, when the Christian missionaries came, they said, look, the cross of Christ. You were Christians all along, you just didn't know it. Let us tell you the bigger story. And if have you ever seen Celtic knotwork? Maybe you've seen pictures of the Book of Kells, for instance. The Gospels are written in Ireland, or Celtic artwork, or Celtic crosses, but that beautiful, intricate knotwork. That's the way the Celts expressed the idea of the Trinity, this beautiful, interconnected life expressed in those beautiful patterns. Each line is distinct of its own, and yet it's all linked together to form one, to form the whole. And that's the nature of the Trinity. That's the nature of God, which is relationship. Even scientists, even physicists now are coming to believe the same thing that we believe. Physicists who are studying creation and matter at the very smallest level, quantum physics, have discovered what we knew all along. At its very basic level, all things are really energy. You and I and the world around us is really energy expressed as matter, but energy can be expressed also as light or heat or other things. But at its very basic level, at the very smallest cosmic level, all of that energy is interconnected and interrelated, forming this great web, this great pattern, this great tunic or fabric that we call and understand as creation. I'm glad physicists are catching up with us. But it is, because the very nature of God is relationship. And the very nature of ourselves and all the cosmos is relationship. And so there's nothing to be afraid of or embarrassed about or confused about when it comes to the doctrine of the Trinity, because, as I said, it's more really an expression of what we know and what we've come to understand and what we experience. Let me finish with a story. This is a story about a boy called Johnny, and of course Johnny was an Episcopalian, as you might suspect. Anyway, he was riding his bike, he was riding past his Episcopal church, and for reasons unknown, or maybe known only to himself, best known to himself, he had missed Sunday school the week before. And what they were teaching at Sunday school the week before was how to make the sign of the cross in the name of the Holy Trinity, Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, his priest, Mother Jones, the Reverend Jones, just happened to be working gardening outside the church, and she saw little Johnny drive past on his bike and said, "Oh, Johnny, stop, wait a minute." And of course he stopped, and she said, "You missed Sunday school last week. It was really important because we were learning how to make the sign of the cross in the name of the Holy Trinity." She said, "Come into church and we'll use the holy water in the little stoop by the church entrance, and I'll teach you how to make the sign of the cross in the name of the Trinity." So Johnny, yes, okay, and he got off his bike and was just walking to church, and he said, "Oh, but what about my bike? Somebody may come and steal it." And Reverend Jones said, don't worry about it, the Holy Spirit will take care of your bike while we're inside church. So, okay. So we went in, and they stood by the front door, and there was a little stoop with holy water in it, just like we have there. And the priest dipped her fingers in the holy water, made the sign of the cross in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. And she said, that's all there is to it. She said, okay, Johnny, you can try it now as well. And Johnny said, okay, so he dipped his hands in the water and made the sign of the cross in the name of the Father and of the Son. And there was a silence, a pause. And the priest was looking at him, and she said, have you forgotten something? What about the Holy Spirit? And Johnny said, oh no, that's okay, the Holy Spirit is outside looking after my bike. I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. The Holy Trinity, God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Abba, Messiah, Spirit, Holy Wisdom, Creator, Redeemer, Sanctifier. And remember, when you say God, you're really saying Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.